welcome to Manila and welcome to our Dell User Forum. Now I'm going to start with, we realize this is a user forum, meaning many of you in this audience would much rather be in the labs. You'd much rather be testing our solutions, speaking with our specialists, and speaking with our subject matter experts. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to take an opportunity to take a step back and really let you understand and share with you the research that we've done about cities and the economy and how here in Asia, our economic platform is staged for growth. And more specifically, how here in the ASEAN region and here in Philippines, our cities are ready to capitalize on the growth and the prosperity that Tianbing talked about. So let's start with what makes ASEAN as a region future ready. The first thing is, quite frankly, we have robust growing economies here. Across the region, ASEAN, 2.5 trillion is the GDP, and it's growing at 6% annually. Of course, Philippines growing even faster than that. We also have a highly educated population. 600 million literate people, 40% of them which are less than 30 years old. The third key pillar that allows us to be a very, very growing prosperity region is that we have a very highly connected population. In fact, smartphone penetration just here in this region is 35%. And finally, we have a government system and we have organizations which are really focused on developing collaboration between business units. This is all supported by the ASEAN economic community and the policies that that organization is working through. These four things combined, according to research by Kearney, can stage this region to be the top 5 digital economy by 2025. And when you think about what is the potential of being a top 5 digital economy, that can add up to 1 trillion to the Southeast Asia GDP by 2020. Now that is a massive opportunity that everyone in this room can really help capitalize. So Dell did research around what does it take to be a future-ready economy, to be a future-ready city. We actually partnered with IHT Economics, and we fielded a study across many of the cities across the world in order to be able to determine what are the 3 characteristics of all of those cities that it takes to be a future-ready city to be able to capitalize on this. And 3 things surfaced to the top. The first one is human capital, the second one is commerce, and the third one is infrastructure. So human capital is all about empowering citizens through technology and education, about attracting talent and enabling that talent in order to be able to exploit the digital transformation that we have ahead of us. The second one is about commerce. It's about cities and ecosystem that build a collaborative environment across businesses in order to be able to focus on growth-oriented practices. And the third one is infrastructure, the importance of infrastructure. It's about building a foundation of telecom, technology, as well as physical infrastructure that cities can then, and businesses and people can capitalize and turn into the opportunities that we have. Those are the 3 principles within any given city that enable it to become a future-ready city. So in this study, we actually profiled 50 different cities around the world. And from that, created an index ranking all of these cities on their degree to be future ready. And actually Asia, across Asia, 13 cities in Asia surfaced to the top of the ranks. And Singapore is actually ranked #1 across all of the Asia region. And what makes Singapore really a future-ready city is the fact that it's number 3 in human capital and infrastructure. Just think about the highly educated population in Singapore and how that population can really grow and thrive in this digital economy. Another country that surfaced to the top of the study was Hong Kong, #5, and that was really driven by infrastructure and internet penetration across that organization. Delhi, as you might imagine, was ranked #3 in growth outlook, and Suzhou was ranked number 45 overall, but number 1 in productivity and wages. So if you think about all of the attributes that make future-ready cities across Asia, we have many, many of those attributes here. And our customers within the ASEAN region are actually deploying projects and technologies to help build future-ready cities and help to expand those future-ready cities. I have 3 stories of projects that happened here in the Asia region. The first one is Samitivej Hospital. And Samitivej Hospital is a hospital system in Bangkok. And what they were trying to do is really be able to increase the quality and the health care that they were delivering to their patients. And they quickly realized in order to be able to do that, they needed to be able to have sufficient IOPS in order to be able to keep up with the transaction load of their healthcare management system. So this hospital, in partnership with Dell, worked to create a solution based on our SC series storage flash-based arrays, our PowerEdge servers, and all backed by Copilot support, in order to be able to deliver 100,000 IOPS to keep up with their transaction velocity and be able to deliver better healthcare coverage for their patients. Another example is the University of Tokyo. And this is actually a smart city project in Thailand. And a great example how smart cities need to be able to foster an environment of collaboration across businesses. Now, the University of Tokyo, what they did is they partnered with a local university in Thailand, the University of Kaisetsart. I'm sure I mispronounced that, so forgive me. Anyone from Thailand, please forgive me. They also partnered with the Royal Irrigation Department of Thailand. They partnered with the Meteorological Department of Thailand, and they partnered with Dell. And their challenge was to create a water management system that would more effectively be able to balance and meter the water within Thailand. And of course, they partnered together. They developed the system, leveraging Dell servers, Dell storage, Dell support, as well as Dell Wise-Thin clients to really pull together a solution that could effectively be able to manage this. And then my third story is about SK Telecom in Korea. And SK Telecom, their challenge is they wanted to be able to improve the customer service of their mobile phone support. And they wanted to be able to do that by harnessing the power of data. And so they worked with our OEM team and they created an Internet of Things big data appliance. And this big data appliance leveraged all of the data across their users to be able to create a much better experience and a much more resilient network. So 3 stories where across the ASEAN region, customers are building projects, building infrastructure projects, and building projects in this new future-ready digital world in order to be able to improve healthcare, improve our infrastructure, and improve our telecom services. So you think about realizing and becoming a future-ready city is not an easy thing to do. There's a lot of natural barriers that exist. The first thing that CIOs will need to contend with, and especially ASEAN CIOs, is really translating vision to execution. If you think about the vision of Future Ready, it seems so incredible, but if you think about the challenges that we have here in the ASEAN region, we know what they are. It's high attrition. It's significant diversity of technology maturity across our countries. It's aggressive competition, and quite frankly, very different cultural norms. The second big challenge that CIOs need to be able to contend with is really resistance to change. We're all humans. The promise of technology is amazing. However, ultimately, we fear that technology is going to take our jobs. Think about the fear that comes with the Internet of Things, that comes with robotics, that comes with automation. These are all things that CIOs and teams need to be able to contend with in order to be able to capitalize on the opportunity we have ahead of us. And the last one is the dependency on government and support. Now, across Asia, many of our government institutions are incredibly progressive to this regard, but government, business, and people all need to be able to work together to create the environment that we can all prosper in this digital age. So as we looked at this, and what are the practical things that we need to be able to do as an industry in order to be able to capitalize on it, we really focused on kind of 3 core principles. The first one is leadership. And you're seeing the theme of leadership come through every single one of these presentations. And if you look at leadership, actually the ASEAN region is really driving and is really being very progressive here. I can think of 2 very specific examples. In Singapore, the FinTech office is providing leadership in order to be able to build smart financial centers. And across Indonesia, Indonesia's government commitment to be the largest digital economy in Southeast Asia is another example of leadership that will all get us there. The second one is people and training, reskilling and developing training. And again, here in the Asia region, there's a tremendous amount of leadership to that regard. I can think of Singapore, their tech skills or accelerator programs and fellowship programs. And then of course in Malaysia, Malaysia's commitment to build workforce and data analytics skill sets. The third one is partnership. This is where the technology sector really comes into play. And yes, the technology sector is partnering in order to be able to help support this digital economy as well. A great example is the BASE initiative. It's Big Analytics Skill Enablement, BASE initiative. It's sponsored by Cloudera. They launched it in Singapore. And the technology sponsors of that are, of course, Dell, Intel, Microsoft, Red Hat, and a number of universities within the Singaporean country. So essentially, leadership, people, and partnerships will be able to create the environment for growth that we're talking about here. Now, finally, what are the pragmatic steps in order to be able to build this digital future? In order to be able to be a future-ready city, for Malaysia to grow, to grow as a future-ready city. It starts with recognizing. That's really taking a step back, thinking about all of the principles that we talked about here, about all of the enablement that needs to happen. Take a step back and think about the bigger picture. The second step is really rethinking your plan, your digital roadmap in order to be able to get there. The third one is rendering. This is about prototypes. This is about proofs of concepts. And this is why these Dell user forums are so valuable, because you can get an opportunity to be able to see the solutions in action, to be able to scope proofs of concepts. The fourth step is really reorganize. This is about prioritizing your roadmap, prioritizing your projects so that you can put yourself on the path in order to be able to realize this future. And the final one is the easy one. It's realizing, it's deploying the projects. It's really working through and putting your architectures into reality. There's a tremendous amount of opportunity ahead of us, and it's really up for all of us to take a leadership role and seize that opportunity. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I'd like to introduce Sir Gil Genio from Globe Telecom, and it's a pleasure to have you with us. It's a real honor.
Thank you very much. First of all, nobody in the company calls me Sir Gil
Genio. We do.
There's no OBE, I guess, at the back of my title. So, yeah.
Oh, good. Well, and I'll tell you, what we wanted to do is welcome Mr. Genio here to really share his story about his company and the tremendous progress that you've been making around digital transformation and capitalizing this opportunity. So why don't we start with you sharing your company and your story?
I guess Globe Telecom doesn't need a lot of introduction. It's been around for a very long time. We have grown rapidly over the past couple of years and quarters. We have done extremely well, but more importantly is the slide on the right-hand side of this page, where we've been really very passionate about innovation and partnerships. And some of the logos that you see here are some of the key digital partners that Globe has had, encompassing all aspects of what a customer's experience is all about, from video to music streaming, and of course messaging. Talk about pressure here. Of course, as a telecom company, and you mentioned, in fact, infrastructure, part of our responsibility is putting in the infrastructure in the Philippines. And on the left-hand side of this chart, basically we're talking about the infrastructure, which by now basically takes three legs. We continue to spend on our mobile network. We have just launched a very aggressive plan to put fiber in quite a lot of households, 2 million to be exact. And of course, for many of the CIOs who are here, your organizations actually require business-grade connections, and we have actually started a project to dramatically increase that footprint. On the right-hand side of this page is really all about our IT infrastructure, and it's really talking about our footprint across physical infrastructure in-country, talking about 2 major data centers, big data centers as we call them. In fact, we have probably the largest Hadoop cluster in-country, 192 Hadoop clusters with 11 petabytes of raw storage. We have, and you'll be happy to know one of these names here, partnered with VMware, and of course in the open source community with OpenStack. We have more than 300 applications running, 1,300 physical servers, 1,200 instances. And of course, whether you're talking about public cloud or private cloud, we have been a very good user of that. And more importantly, recently, the boundaries between IT and network have blurred significantly. And so we've made a major effort to move into the software-defined networking space. And of course, with network function virtualization. Most observers always say this is about cost reduction, but more importantly, as a telecom company today, it is very important to have speed and flexibility. And we believe directionally, long-term, SDN and FV are our basic tools to enable flexibility in our systems. Let me talk a little bit about some of the work that we do in Globe and why it's important for the country as a whole. Today, we all know this. At any given time, 25 million people who are Globe customers actually regularly access mobile internet. It is the dominant form of access to the internet. And in order to improve this overall concept of a digital society, digital inclusion is a very important point to remember. In order to improve digital inclusion, we always need to make sure that there's basic connectivity. There's still several thousand barangays who don't have basic connectivity. They don't even have electricity to begin with. Of course, affordability with more competition continues to improve. We need to make sure that individuals and households understand what technology can do for them. And of course, relevant content and applications for everybody. It is always very well known that improvements in technology and mobile adoption leads to GDP growth. So whether you're talking about employment, government revenues, enabling continued good governance, you talked briefly about Internet of Things, and in the future there's a tremendous amount of public benefit for that. Financial inclusion is a particularly dear topic to our hearts. In fact, if I look at this Globe purpose here, when we think about Globe today, our purpose really is about families, where families' dream come true, businesses flourish, and nation is admired. And when we think about what we're doing as an infrastructure, telecom infrastructure, it actually enables quite a lot of things. And it's providing wonderful experiences to individuals and households. So at the end of the day, Globe is all about this. And the only way we can really create wonderful experiences is to dramatically improve infrastructure, improve the experience, understand what people are using all of this for, and making sure that everybody, not just those at the top of the pyramid, are able to enjoy the benefits of a digital society.
Great, thank you. So clearly the core infrastructure is the base of kind of the innovation that's moving forward. Now recently, Globe combined the CIO office and the CTO office into one office, which you're of course now leading. Can you tell us about kind of the drivers of that and how that is a platform for innovation?
We reorganized the company a little bit, and in November last year, we had a great discussion with the board and basically formed a CTIO responsibility, which I have assumed. And really at the edges, it is very clear what software and IT is about. I mean, it's lines of code. And also at the other extreme, it's clear what network is about. It's towers, sites, fiber. But everything in between, there is already a blurred distinction between what is network and what is IT. And often, there are opportunities for IT to become such a large player in network. Actually, there's a lot of stuff that we put in our sites, for example, that when you open the cabinets, those are servers inside, right? At the same time, IT has a tremendous amount of opportunity to improve our overall network infrastructure. The ability to, for example, provision services, to bill a customer, to dynamically change speeds, all of that is really classic, I would say, IT skills. And the power of IT almost like creeping into the network side, if I may say so, allows greater flexibility. And of course, there's a side benefit for Globe in terms of overall lower cost infrastructure. So strategically, we felt it was very important to make sure that IT and network go hand in hand to serve the needs of our customers.
Wow, it's almost like organizationally, it's a technique in order to be able to embrace convergence, and really those two things coming together.
Yes, and more than convergence, and which I alluded to also in my remarks, is like at the end of the day, it's having a common virtualized infrastructure allows us to converge at the lower layers of the organization. That's the physical footprint, the data centers, the servers, even the software that runs on them, to serve both IT, classic application use cases, as well as network functions. Yeah. And to us, that convergence, to use your word now, that convergence of a physical infrastructure, taking advantage of virtualization, taking advantage of cloud, is a very important determinant. And we believe it's critical to our success in the future.
It's amazing. Now, the industry talks a lot about big data, talks a lot about this new role within IT called a chief data officer. What are your thoughts on that role, where it should sit, and kind of what impact that role would have on innovation?
It's quite timely because last year, around April of last year, we also decided to harmonize many different efforts across the company. There used to be different big data type of applications being incubated in various parts of the organization. Marketing people found that they need big data for their own jobs, network people, etc. Right? So in early 2015, we decided to actually put it all under one office. Unfortunately, it's such a generic name, Enterprise Data Office, right? but the whole notion really is every person's job in the organization will be enhanced, will be optimized, and individuals will get better with the use of big data. We do not expect individuals in network, in marketing, in finance, in operations to understand how big data can help them. But it is important to create a center of excellence in a centralized environment so that they can work hand in hand with all of the other functions in the organization to determine and actually to see for themselves and to help them find new ways of doing their jobs. And today, for example, it's an eye-opener for marketers. It's an eye-opener for people in mobile advertising. In fact, we even have a subsidiary now called AdSpark that does mobile advertising, and even financial inclusion with respect to our Mint fintech subsidiary. It opens people's eyes that there is actually a tremendous amount of power in big data, and that they can actually do their day-to-day jobs even better.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating. So talking about big data, I understand that Globe and Dell are working on a data lake project.
Yes, it's somewhat generically called the data lake project, but the genesis of this project, as I was saying, is by centralizing a center of excellence, and also by centralizing, therefore, in architecture,
right.
So that we can make decisions that are future ready, so to speak. And I guess for the techies here, when you think about what Lambda architecture is all about, right? And that has been popularized when you think about big data architecture. So we decided to step up a bit, create a Lambda architecture, put in all of the components on what's called speed layer and all of that stuff. Invest in open source tools even to be able to handle real-time streaming of data. What we now have today is actually an infrastructure that as I also mentioned some numbers, 192 Hadoop clusters with 11 petabytes of raw storage that allows us to keep a tremendous amount of information, even real time. And we actually worked with Dell in order to be able to put together this relatively large production-grade Hadoop cluster. And we have both a production cluster as well as a sandbox that helps third parties and partners play around with and find new use cases for big data. And so we've always thought of Dell as a strategic partner in constructing not only the original architectural framework or the Lambda architecture behind our big data platform, but also to actually deliver both the production and sandbox environment.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Mr. Henio, thank you very much for your time. I know your insight is incredibly valuable. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very much welcome. Thank you very much, Margaret.